All right, I'd like to start out by saying Barak Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is the Lavish and Careless Lifestyle of Babylon. I'm joined here with the Elder Hanak.
Shalom.
And pretty much, I was reading through the book of Jeremiah 51 earlier and ran across this one particular precept that I want to touch on. But before that, I was gonna start off at a verse further up from that, just to kind of paint the picture, because America, which prophetically is known as Babylon the Great, is being set up for the greatest destruction that ever has taken place on the planet, and there's a certain way that they would go, for lack of better words, that would lead to that destruction. And a part of that destruction would be, because of her, easy type of lifestyle, that caused her to pretty much become careless. Like the old saying, hard men make hard times. Hard times, how do they go? Hard times make hard men make easy times. Easy time makes soft men make hard times, So when Esau first started off, they were hard. These Edomites today, they're really on no level in comparison to them devils that were here, back in the 1600s, so on and so forth. This is a different type of breed. This is the I don't even know what to call them, through bug out, generation of Esau, but back then, they went out there, and pretty much conquered, the whole of the Americas, and eventually when they established America, they pretty much, started to make money, through exploitation, slavery, so on and so forth, and eventually they built up this whole system, to where those men that didn't have a whole lot eventually started to gain more and more money, and you see today, the lavish, lifestyle that America has. So we're gonna just start off with Jeremiah 21:25, and if you have any points, scriptures that you want to bring
Jeremiah
in.
51?
Yeah, 51 and 25. And verse 25 and 26, and then take it from there.
Yep, this is Jeremiah 51 and 25. Behold, I am against thee. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, said the Lord, which destroyest all the earth, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain.
Right, so the Lord said, I am against thee. Read that again.
Jeremiah 51 and 25. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, said the Lord.
Right, O destroying mountain, go ahead.
It says, which destroyeth all the earth.
Right, which destroyeth all the earth. Now, when you go back to ancient Babylon did not destroy the whole earth. They didn't have control of the whole earth. All they had control over at that time was the, that kept being conquered by different empires. Go ahead.
It says, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee and roll down from the rocks, and I will make thee a burnt mountain.
Right, because you're at the top, of your empire. Even though you're going down and it's decaying and falling apart, you're at the top of your empire. So the Lord says He's going to roll you down from that status and turn you into a burnt mountain. Go ahead.
It says, and they shall not take thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations.
Right, because when you go back to Isaiah 34, it also speaks about, when this place is destroyed, you're going to have the line of emptiness and the stones of emptiness and the line of confusion. So there's not going to be anything here to reestablish civilization or colonization in this society ever again. Go ahead.
It says, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever, said the Lord.
Right, so you shall be desolate forever, saith the Lord. Now, these two verses right here prove that America, to prove that the Neo-Babylonian Empire was not what this prophecy was speaking about, because the Neo-Babylonian Empire did not have sway over the whole planet, over the whole world. And the ancient or the Neo-Babylonian Empire, when they were taken over, it was a hostile takeover, and the whole land was not made desolate. You know, the whole land of Babylon over there in Iraq is not desolate, like the Lord said would be fulfilled here, you know, in Jeremiah 51st chapter.
Yeah, there's still people living in that land right now as we speak. Okay.
Yeah, you still have thriving communities, businesses, and all of that. You know, trade. They still have a military. You know, so they're not destroyed.
So I'm gonna jump down to verse 41.
Yes, sir.
Jeremiah 51 and 41. How is Shishak taken, and how is the praise of the whole earth surprised?
Right. So I looked up the word Shishak because I wasn't sure what it was speaking about, but I had a feeling it was gonna be like a nickname for Babylon. So let's look that up so you can see.
That word Shishak.
Shishak. Yep.
It says, thy fine linen.
Yep.
Another name for Babylon, apparently taken from the goddess Shak.
Yep. So it's another name for Babylon. And it says pretty much those that are arrayed in fine linen.
Yeah.
You know, fine linen is what? Costly apparel. You know, living a lavish lifestyle, asshole. Yeah, you're fucking heathen. You know, living a lavish lifestyle. And that's pretty much the spirit or the attitude that America, you know, exhibits. You know, they exhibit this costly lifestyle, this, this extravagant, luxurious type of lifestyle. You know, to where everything is pretty much established, upon luxuries.
Oh man, thank you so much.
All right, man, take care.
All right, man, thank
You
you
know?
so much.
So the lavish lifestyle of America, you know, and that's pretty much the spirit that they push on the world. Matter of fact, you know what? Before we read on, go to Isaiah 14, and starts around 4. You know, because you know the world has been pretty much duped, you know, into believing that this America is like a golden city. You know, it's a place where you want to go there. And when people come, keep the cultures and religions of their ancestors, so to speak. You know, they pretty much, entangle themselves in the ways of America. You know, this is why you have people that are into Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, and all that coming to this country, want to wear Fendi, Prada, you know, all these different name brand designers get the Burberry, shades and all them different types of shades and latest fashions.
Well, just like there's a saying in ancient Rome, when in Rome, do as the Romans. And we know America to be the revitalized Roman Empire.
Woo. So
when in America, do as the Americans.
That's it.
Be assimilated into American culture, which is rebelliousness against, the Most High, which is indulging yourself as much as you can, living deliciously, living without care.
That's right.
You know, this is Isaiah 14 and 4. It says that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how has the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased.
Right. How has the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. You know, because afar off, people saw gold. People saw prosperity. You know, people, put themselves through a bunch of treacherous, harm, just to get to this country. You know, they went through hell to get here, just to be able to prosper. But when they got here, they found out that, all that glitters ain't gold. People came here and pretty much they were stuck. Some people came here, became homeless. Was recently going into the history of how Ephraim got to the Americas from the beginning, the late 1800s to the early 1900s, and how they had to be shipped through ships and trains, through America, and they wouldn't even feed them. They were starving them. So why did they come? Why did they leave Puerto Rico? Because there wasn't enough labor there for them to survive. So they went to a place where they thought they were going to thrive, and they started catching hell. But this is the same thing for all these different nations. But the difference is that when these nations come here, they do prosper to a certain degree, but the Israelites, no matter where they come from, they catch hell here. And these devils know that. That's why Donald Trump is shunning, the indigenous people, of Central and South America, Mexico, but then he's accepting South African so-called white people in here. To show you how much of a racist he is, but yet still people don't see that. People don't see that this devil is a straight up racist. And then they're trying to say how, well, that goes into something totally different,
So let me go. You want me to continue? Isaiah 14?
Yeah, I think it's one more verse.
Okay. Isaiah 14:5. The Lord has broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers.
Right, so that's the point. The Lord said the Lord has broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. So these people came to the Americas, with the idea that they were going to prosper, but it's not really what it's not what they painted it to be.
Yeah.
Spoke to this one chick, I believe she was Turkish, good looking chick too. And she came here, she said, because we asked, so what, why did you come to America? Blah, 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 she said, for a better chance and this and that other. And I said, so what did you find out? And pretty much she said that this place is, it's bullshit. All the stories they fed her was pretty much bullshit. So eventually, I'm not sure if she ended up going back, right here, or if they ended up deporting her. I don't know all the story behind it because I didn't see her anymore after that. But that's the point. The point is that these people come here with goals and aspirations of doing better, and it's the total opposite.
So I'll go back to Jeremiah 51.
Let's go to what the other precept.
Isaiah 47.
Yeah. Because we're building off the name Shishak, which is a nickname for America, Babylon the Great. Those that are dressed in fine linen. And this is the projection, and the assumption that the world has of America, Babylon the Great.
It's Isaiah 47:7. It says, and thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it.
Right, so you thought you were going to be a lady forever. A lady in the sense of a queen, in the sense of a dignified person, dignities and noble people, pompous, the
A mistress.
There you go.
Which is like a female version of a lord. That's how America portrays itself or acts as the guardian of the earth, as the leader of the free world.
That's it.
As a lord over all the other nations. They're not as advanced. And look how free my country is. Look how advanced. Look at all my technology. Look, everybody has homes. But when you come over here, that's not the case. You have a very heavy drug epidemic going on. You have a homeless epidemic going on. You have a crime epidemic going on. You have your infrastructure is falling apart. Your power is waning. The people are coming against the government.
The economy.
Right? Your economy is in shambles. Okay.
And these people are catching hell because the people that are here, the so-called citizens, whether they're American citizens or here for a certain period of time, they're the ones that's carrying the burden of this debt. They're the ones that's carrying the burden of the economic woes, because it's not the bankers that's catching hell. The bankers are making money off of this. It's the people that are here, the ones that are catching hell from this economic downturn.
Yep, verse 8, it says, therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thy heart, I am and none else beside me.
Right, that dwellest carelessly. You're given to pleasures pretty much. You know what? Look up that word pleasures there, just see what it says. So when you think of America, right, people think of prosperity, living good, eating good, making money, living like a king, living like a so-called queen, right? Living like royalty, You know, because these are the pictures that are painted to the world. You know, but America, they are actually living like that. You know, they are living, even though now they're falling apart. But you know, the idea of the American dream, which was a fraud from the gate. You know, some people were living it. You know.
Yep, that word is I-da-yun. And it
like I done.
Gone. Yep. Voluptuous. That's what it says.
Yeah, this is because what I done goes back to paradise joy. So what was the word? I would done?
I-da-yun.
I-da-yun, which is, I'm pretty sure if you go back to the
root is I done.
Yep, I done,
Yep.
which goes back to the English word Eden, which means paradise, joy. You know, so this has been the place that was painted as a paradise or joy or the answers to all your problems.
I have this, I looked at the word voluptuous,
Let's look it up.
right? And it says...
That's like a woman with some big, you know, breasts.
Yep. It says curvaceous and sexually attractive.
Ooh, and that goes to what? That goes with the harlot.
Revelation 17.
Matter of fact, we're going to have to get to that.
I had that on deck.
Let's go.
It says typically used of a woman. It says relating to or characterized by luxury or sensual pleasure.
See? Luxury or sensual pleasure. Before you get the one in our Revelation, go to James. What is that? 3:17. This wisdom is not from above.
God.
You know? So that's the idea that they paint in the people's mind. This is why these nations have to drink of that cup. You know, you have to drink of that filth in order to enjoy those pleasures. You know, and these, you know, artists, celebrities and all that, they're finding out that in order to really prosper in this society, you got to sell out. You got to do things that you wouldn't normally do. You got to do things that you're not comfortable with. You know?
You have to give up all moral, you know, standards. You know, you have to become filthy, just like the harlot. You know, you have to drink of that mingled wine that the harlot is giving you, which keeps you drunken in that drunken state, and you have to be a influence on the rest of the population.
Yeah.
To make them more degenerate. You know.
Yep. And you know, it's something because, you know, the immoral, debaucherous lifestyle that these celebrities have to live, you know, and they still, but a function, you know, they still are not, for the most part, they still, you know, them demons are actually keeping their bodies together, their organs together.
Yep.
You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, Satan needs them.
Yep.
There's a purpose. You know, there's a purpose why the Lord allows the wicked to, you know, so-called prosper. It's their time to prosper.
Yep.
So they're not going to be plagued like, say, you know, when you come to this truth, when you come to serve Yahweh Shema Shai, you're not going to be plagued like that because Satan is dealing with you. Satan will give you good health. You know, he'll give you money, give you women, he'll give you this. But see, ultimately, especially when it comes to our people, Satan always turns on them.
That's it.
You know? In the book of Hebrews, it said that Moses rather, you know, suffer with the children of Israel than to enjoy sin for but a season, for a moment, okay? So this James 3:17.
Yeah, it says, well, really, hard times give you the ability to endure, you know, these hardships that are coming. Go ahead.
Yeah, like it says in Ecclesiastes, I believe it's the 7th chapter, where it says, the heart of the wise is in the house of sorrow. But because of by it. Yeah. How does
the heart be made better? Or something?
Yeah. Through those sorrows, the heart is made better. You know, I mean, the mind is made stronger.
Yeah.
To be able to withstand these hard and terrible times that the prophet seen will happen to us in the future. Will happen in the future, which we are in that future.
Right.
Okay.
And that's why you had the hard times, you know, make hard men. You know, because when you deal with those hardships, it makes you stronger mentally. You know, but then when you don't deal with those hardships, you don't have that wall, you know, of strength mentally that you need to be able to endure the different pains, you know, whether it's physical pains or just tribulation in general.
Yeah, because you have not been you have not been exercised in sorrow and hardships.
Right.
So if you have not been exercised, you have no, you know, you don't have any endurance, you don't have any stamina, you don't have any resilience.
Yep.
Like when you go to the gym, it's to build up resilience. You do resistant training.
Yep.
And you continue to add heavier weight as you get stronger. Okay?
That's it.
This is James 3:17. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated,
Yep.
full of mercy and good fruits,
Yep.
without partiality and without hypocrisy. It says, and the fruit of righteousness is sown in a peace of them that make peace.
Right. So did we read the other part?
You said James 3?
Yeah, James 3. The part that says this wisdom is not from above.
Yeah. James 3:17.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, let me
I probably missed it when you read it.
It says, but this wisdom that is from above is first pure. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's the one that says this wisdom.
Okay.
It's in the same chapter.
Yeah.
This wisdom is not from above. It's earthly.
Okay, yep. Verse 15. This wisdom descendeth not from above,
Right. That's dealing with the wicked wisdom. Go ahead.
but it's earthly, sensual, devilish.
Right. It's earthly, sensual, devilish. Look up the word sensual.
God.
Because that brought them, when you read the word voluptuous, it brought that to mind. So when you get that,
God.
read that, and then we may go back to that voluptuous, and then Revelation 17, Lord, as well.
God. I'm just getting this real quick.
That's all right. Take your time.
Yeah, this word sensual is psychikos.
Right, which is psychic. Like, you're going into your psyche. Go ahead.
It says of or belonging to breath, having the nature and characteristics of the breath.
Basically, someone that's, and the scripture said the carnal mind cannot receive things of the spirit because they're spiritually discerned.
It says the principle. Shit, this goddamn crow scared me. The principle of animal life, which men have in common with the brutes.
Read that again.
Yep. It says the principle of animal life, which men have a common with the brutes.
Right, so they have in common with the brute. In other words, animals are just animals. Some are domesticated, but wild animals are just wild animals. They, have no manners. They just, they're just wild. And that's how these individuals are. Pretty much whatever comes to their mind, they do it. This is why you see Jake out in the world today. That you got men, rough as men, but then they'll pop men and women. Because they don't have any guidelines, any hedge, around them, to say, nah, don't be doing that shit. That shit ain't right. If they feel like popping somebody, whatever's available, And this is the debaucherous lifestyle that America's pushing. That lavish, because lavishness, brings about, wickedness if it's not tempered with righteousness.
With discipline.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not tempered with righteousness and discipline, and the hedge of Yahweh Shema Shai, the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai, the fear, that, oh, no, that's not right,
That's right, man.
It says the sensual nature. You like, God, what's wrong with you?
Yep.
But that's what you have to do to be able to prosper and live deliciously, live voluptuously in Babylon the Great. If you just a hard-working individual that loves God and just wants to do right, a good person, if you will, so to speak, you're not going to really get that far in Babylon the Great.
Nah.
Okay, you might work hard and get, start a business, but that's all that you're not gonna be able to enjoy the pleasures.
Yeah.
Because you're always gonna be working. But if you are a complete weirdo, sicko, complete loss of morals, do whatever you want, you're gonna prosper.
Yeah.
That's
why the majority of these people in America are just straight up demons. They're demon filled, because all they care about is just pleasure. Pleasure ain't always good. Elder Apostle Gabar always says comfort is the enemy. Too much comfort is not good. You have to have those moments, of pushback, in order to be able to, to appreciate the times when you can have a little peace of mind or some peace. Because too much peace is no good. A sedentary lifestyle, you might have peace, but your body's all fucked up. And because you're just constantly just sitting there. Yeah, you might have a peaceful moment, because you don't have anybody messing with you or whatever the case may be. But eventually, that constant stagnation is going to destroy your body.
Yep. You got to have the balance of the Lord.
That's it.
The sensuous nature with its subjection to appetite and passion.
That's it. That was voluptuous, right?
No, this is
Sensual.
sensual.
So now go back to that word voluptuous, if you still got it, and then we'll go, from there. We'll go back to the precept we left off at, and I forgot what word we looked up. I think it was Isaiah 47.
Yeah, Isaiah 47. And
but you had looked up the word voluptuous.
Yep. From that word, Isaiah 47.
47, it was one of the verses you read.
God.
And it was a word, one of the
Pleasures.
Pleasures. Yeah, that's right. We looked at the word pleasures.
Yep.
So, and it brought us, so go ahead.
Yeah, so when you look up the word pleasures, it's I-the-yun.
Yep.
I-the-yun, right?
Straight.
Yeah, straight. And the outline of biblical usage, it says voluptuous.
Yep.
Or given to pleasures.
That's it.
And then I look up this word voluptuous. Let me look it up. And it says curvaceous and sexual attractive, typically used of a woman, relating to or characterized by luxury or sensual pleasure.
See, luxury or sensual pleasure. So now you can get the Revelation 17.
Yep. Revelation 17. You want me to start at the top or going kind of just go to
yeah, I think you had mentioned something, but you know what? Go to the third verse.
Okay, 3. This is Revelation 17:3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Go ahead.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls.
See, read that again, that part.
Yep. It says, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones.
Right, so she was decked out. So this is not this the vision that Apostle John is seeing, but it's not an actual woman. But this America it appears that way. It appears like a woman that's finely arrayed, like a harlot that has on the best clothes, the best perfume, the best jewelry. Her hair's done to a T. She got the latest fashion shoes, and everything that she has on is name brand, so you could understand. It's just to paint it in pictures that you understand. It's not no frills, it's not shit that you get at the thrift store, or Salvation Army or the Goodwill. It's not going to be on a clearance rack.
It's luxury.
That's it.
This harlot is wearing nothing but luxury brands, if you will, in this time. Red bottom shoes, $5,000 shoes. And,
yep.
The blouse is $1,000. To get her hair done is
$1,000.
$1,000. She got gold solid gold, 24 karat gold. She got the best perfumes. She's wearing the top linen clothing or silk, right?
That's it. So look up the word luxury too, and then we'll come back right back to that.
God.
I'm just gonna look up the word luxury and just in the regular common dictionary. Just to give you the idea of that when the Apostle John saw this vision, when Isaiah saw the vision, it was spoken of a woman. Nahum also, even though he was speaking about ancient Nineveh, but that applies to America today. So they saw an actual woman, but the woman was a representation of a particular place. And that particular place, biblically, prophetically, is called Babylon the Great. And she's arrayed like a woman. She's attractive like this woman. She is alluring, seductive, pulling, people towards her, through that enticement,
Yep, this word luxury, and it's the common dictionary. It says the state of great comfort and extravagant living.
See, the state of great comfort and extravagant living. That's what Most High, one of the names that he called Babylon, or nicknames, was what? It was Shishak, which was known for those that are dressed in fine linen. You have linen, but then you have fine linen. See, that's the difference. You know, and this place has been known for that, to push that lifestyle upon people. That's why people want to come here. They don't want to come here just to live a normal life that they live in their homeland. They could have just stayed home for that. They could have stayed in their land. You know, they come here because they want to live that lifestyle that they put on the screen, the lifestyle of the rich and famous.
Yeah, Hollywood. They see on Hollywood and all the American movies and all the luxurious items, and they got the stars, and they like, I want a piece of that. I want to live like that. All I have to do is come to America and work hard, and see everybody in America is living like that. And then they see their current state of their country, which they're unaware that America is literally oppressing them through monetary and economic means to keep them in that low state, because and America is, you know, has the benefit of their natural resources, you know.
Yeah, they say, I need that. You know, I want that. I have to have it. You know, and they come here and guess what? You right under the yoke of slavery, pretty much. You know.
Yeah. So another definition: an inessential, desirable item, which is expensive or difficult to obtain.
Right, and that, you know, they figured if well, I'm not going to get it. I'm here in this third world country, so if I go to America, eventually I know I can get it. And so it's a dream. But it's an illusion. You know, it's an illusion. It's a you know, but the fleeting moment. You know.
Now the word in the etymon, it gives you the etymon. We go down the middle left. Yeah.
Over here.
Yeah, over there. The word in etymon, Latin, luxuria, from luxus, it means excess.
See, excess. So this is how, you know, this place, you know, because, you know, when women are young, right, you know, they look good, you know, they can eat what they want, drink what they want, you know, and they won't really gain weight like that. But then eventually through constant eating and drinking and getting drunk and getting high and all this shit, eventually their body starts to fall apart. You know, so it's a decadent lifestyle. The word decadent means to decay. So people have that idea to come here to live like kings. But what happens with kings? They live luxurious, but then they end up with diseases.
You're like the king's meat, which is very rich in meat and fried foods.
There you go.
Carbohydrates and wine. You're drinking wine. I mean, wine is good, but you're drinking wine every day. You're in excess. Because you're in the state of luxurious.
That's it.
You're in the state of the kings. You can come to America and basically live like a king.
That's it.
If you have, and that's the hope, that's the dream that everybody wants to achieve. You know, by obtaining all this monetary, this financial gain. I can live like a king. I can get a big ass mansion. I can have food, unlimited supply of food. People boast in how their refrigerator is always stocked with food, with multiple types of different alcohols or beers, multiple types of meat. They got deep freezers full of all type of meat. They got more than their heart can wish. And they're just an average person in Babylon.
Excess.
But see, that's the excess. You know, that's the luxurious lifestyle that, what they say, the luxurious lifestyle of the rich and famous.
Yep, the lifestyle of the rich and famous. You know, matter of fact, get Revelation 18, I think it's around the 14th verse. You know, we're going to read that, and then we get some of those words. And, damn, there was another precept that came to mind. Oh, and then in the Apocrypha, you know, about those that care for their diet.
Okay.
You know. So when you get that, you know, you can read that. You know, because this excess lifestyle is leading to the decay of these people. Decay, not just physically, spiritually, morally, you know. Because you have to give up, you know, your moral values, you know, in order to be able to live in this place. That's why you see this younger generation of, you know, people coming from different nations here, you know, and the children have that same, you know, American mentality as everyone else here. You would think you would be, you know, it'd be no different than you being in the hood or in the barrio. You know, when you go to some of these different places where you have these heathens at, because they act just like these demons, you know, in the hood. You know. We saw this Arab. He called his you know, his sister was saying something. He said, "Shut up, bitch." You know, I look like motherfucker.
You was saying nigga too.
Yeah.
Just a nigga. Fuck that bitch. Shut up. I'm like, damn, this is you know.
You know, now some of them, you know, could be Jakes, you know, but the nations in general, they're trying to be like Americans, you know, and especially this younger generation. They all fucked up.
So this is Revelation 18.
I believe it's the 14th
14.
verse, is it?
Gone.
It's after the list, it's slaves and next verse after that.
Revelation 18. The fruits that thy soul lusteth after are departed from thee.
Yep.
And all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more.
All right, so now go to the word dainty.
Yep.
The things that were dainty unto thee have departed, because the elder just mentioned, you know, the king's diet, you know, which was rich, you know, in excess of meats and fried foods,
You know,
carbs,
and herbs,
you know, the itis
pastries,
pastries, yeah.
you know, sweets, you know, honey and all that. That's those kind of commodities were very rare.
Yep.
You didn't have a lot of that, so you had those things were only eaten on occasion. Now, if you had a lot of money, you can eat that in excess.
Yeah.
Which all those things have good, you know, good quality and they're for men.
Yep.
But in excess, that's when the issue arises.
Yep.
So that word, what was it?
Dainty.
Dainty. Yep. Liparos,
Liparos, yep.
which kind of reminds me of lipid,
Yep.
which goes into
what it
fat.
means, yep.
Okay.
And if you look at the root word it goes into, it tells you it's lipos.
Lipos. Yep. There you go. It says lipos, grease.
Grease.
See?
Which is what? The you know, your fried foods,
That's
your
it.
French fries and
That's
your
it.
hamburgers and your hot dogs and fried ice cream and fried pickles and
Fried Snickers and fried donuts. You know?
fried death.
Yep. Yep. It says things which pertain to a sumptuous and delicate life. Things which pertain to sumptuous and delicate style of living.
Yep. That's it. You know, and that causes what? That causes disease. It causes a decay. You know, it causes. We might have to make a left here. Oh, it's
Your hip?
starting to get a flat. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, kind of. We'll make it left.
Go
We
ahead.
can turn around.
No.
Okay.
Stay the course.
Kind. Yeah, it says from lipos, grease, fat.
Yep.
And you can see that on, I mean, that's a clear indicator that this is Babylon the Great. Another one, right, is you can see the state of the average everyday American citizen.
Yeah.
They're overweight. You know, what, 60% of the population of America is overweight.
Yep.
So that just shows you how fat they're living. Well, they're living fat. When they say I'm living fat,
Yeah.
you know,
Literally.
you're literally.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the majority of food that people eat is what? Fried shit, fast food, McDonald's, Burger King. You know, even these nations come here, they eat that. And the elder was speaking about how the kings live, you know, they eat all that good food. And you see them, they're all fat. You could tell that they ain't been missing no meals. But yet, you know, the peasants, you know, they don't eat like that. You know, they got to eat the bare minimal essentials. But that keeps them healthy, keeps them slim. You know, they have energy. They feel good, even though they may have a need and want for things that they can't get. But yet, you know, their diet is good because they can't afford the king's meat. You know, so that whole lifestyle is something that's pushed here in America, and that's what all these different nations want.
That's it. I got a precept.
Go ahead.
This is Sirach 37 and 29. Be not unsatiable in any dainty thing,
Yep.
nor too greedy upon meats.
Yep.
For excess of meats bringeth sickness, and surfeiting will turn into choler.
Right, which is straight up greed.
Yep.
You know, and cola, that's like fucking cancer. You know, like I said, the ram. I'm sorry. It said the goat came upon the ram with great choler, with great hatred. You know, it's like a deep embedded anger. You know, that's how cancer. You have some certain forms of cancer that are very aggressive. You know, and they cause nothing but pain.
Which the word choler goes back to the word liver.
Woo.
Like you have something called a cholagogue, which is something that stimulates the liver.
Dang.
Which, you know, people that are usually overweight, their the liver and gallbladder is backed up. You know.
There you go. And what causes that? Fucked up diet, excess of, drinking this badass fucking liquor.
Mm-hmm. And they be angry. They be upset. They be angry. They have parasites in them and shit.
Yeah.
They're always upset because they're eating all that fucked up food. And on top of that, it's even more fucked up because the foods actually have added chemicals too. So it's like another dimension.
Yeah.
You know why? This is why it's called Babylon the Great.
Recipe for disaster. See, and all these dainty foods, your box pizzas and, your fucking box, everybody, I'm eating healthy. I'm eating, I forget the name of those different, TV dinners and shit that are, Celestine or whatever the shit is called, them different, like Atkins diet and shit like that, them different so-called healthy box shit. That's all trash, bro. That's all trash, chemicals, sodium, sugar. You get a fucking what you call it, a so-called vegetarian cheesecake. That shit has 903 fucking chemicals in it, and it tastes just like it. You know how I know? Cause I had it before.
Yeah. To get the so-called taste of that cheesecake, they got to put all these goddamn byproducts in it. Yep. When the cheesecake, the regular cheesecake, is more healthy than eating that bullshit.
Check that out.
Because it's chemicals. Okay, by surfeiting, many have perished.
Yeah, surfeiting is excess, too much excess. Go ahead.
Well, here in Babylon the Great, you got fucking buffets, all you can eat. Yeah. You can pay a fee $20 and you can go in there and just stuff yourself. Yep. That's what it's all about. If I get more, that's a better deal.
Yep.
When you're supposed to eat proportional. With the different food groups, right?
Yep. Hey, the Japanese, they eat till they're like 80% full, and after that they push the the plate away, because that's really how you're supposed to eat. After you finish eating, you should be satisfied, satiated, but not full. You know how when, like with Jake, when we used to eat back in the days, you be eating and then you're like, man, damn, I feel like shit, my stomach, because you just fucking gorge into shit, and then you feel like dog shit. Because we overdoing this shit, homeboy.
It says, he that taketh heed prolongeth his life.
See, he that taketh heed prolongeth his life. So you could use this physically, which this is what this is talking about, and also spiritually, because this American way or lifestyle is an excess of everything. This is why America, Babylon the Great, is hypersexualized. This is why there's no borders. No limits, as to what you could do here. You want to have sex with animals, you can have sex with animals. You want to have sex with the opposite sex, or you want to have sex with the same sex. It don't matter. They don't put a limitation on shit.
If you want a sex robot, go ahead. If you have the money, go ahead and do it.
Trash.
If you want to have sex with an apple, why not? And put it online, and people will pay you to see it.
Yeah. You want to get married to a tree, just buy the ring. If you want it, you got to put a ring on it, right?
This is Sirach 30:25. A cheerful and good heart will have a care of his meat and diet.
Because you notice people that are like overweight, they're feeling like trash. They don't never really look happy.
No, they don't. You can't.
They're miserable.
How can you be happy with an extra 100 pounds on you? Yep. It's impossible. What is that? That's fat.
You being nice.
Yeah, I'm being nice. You have an extra 100 pounds, 150 pounds on you, and that's nothing but fat.
Yep.
Which that just shows you how you've been living voluptuously.
Yep.
And it tasted good, but what are the repercussions to that? Your lifespan is shortened. Your breath is shortened.
Yep.
Your heart can't pump all the blood. You run into a lot of different health issues, and this is what we're seeing today in America.
Yep.
America, if it was a body, it's cancerous.
Yep.
Okay, it's excess.
It's
congested. Like Trump coming in to the government, and with Elon Musk, right? And the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. What did they say? We need to cut the fat of the economy.
Right.
So what did they start doing? They started cutting different federal programs.
Yep.
That's cutting the fat.
Yep.
Okay, because it was too much excess in America is falling because of that excess. So they're trying to trim the fat. They're trying to work out and exercise to get the fat, but it's too late.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, you got that visceral fat. You got the, fat on the organs. Your shit's all fucked up.
Yeah, we would have healed Babylon, but Babylon is not healed. Well, it says we'll have care for his meat and his diet.
There you go. Boom.
Which just shows you that meat is part of the diet, just food in general, but also the word diet actually goes back to lifestyle.
Yep.
In the etymon, it goes back to lifestyle. So what they say, diet and exercise,
Yep.
mindset, the things that you consume, the things that you watch, the people that you're around. It's all messed up here in Babylon the Great. Okay, so I'm done there. You wanted to go?
Yeah, let's go back to Revelation 18.
Okay.
Read that verse again, and we're gonna look up another word there because it's gonna tie even more into the lesson.
God, this Revelation 18:14, and the fruits that thy soul lusteth after are departed from thee.
This is after the destruction. Go ahead.
And all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee.
Yep.
And thou,
Goodly. Look up the word goodly.
God.
So the dainty and the goodly, because we're dealing with luxuries. I believe in luxuries. If I cannot bring the world to have them, I shall have them myself. Inside joke. That was Buckwan Rashnish, or whatever the hell his name was.
See, that word goodly is lampros.
Right, like you said, lamping. I'm lamping. Go ahead.
It says shining, brilliant, clear, transparent, splendid, magnificent, splendid things. Example, luxuries or elegancies in dress or style.
See, luxuries and elegancies in dress or style. This is why the Apostle John, when the Lord showed him, this harlot, he showed her arrayed in purple. We can go back to that. Showed her arrayed in purple and scarlet
and gold.
And gold. She was chilling.
She was decked out.
Yeah.
She had all the luxury. And when you see that, you see somebody that's dressed like luxurious, you look like, who's this guy? Who's this person? Like, you be wearing $2,000 shoes, a $500 shirt. You got gold, solid gold, and you like, oh, this person,
Yeah, they shining. Hey, well, when you have them high-end hoes, they don't dress like these regular hoes. They dress to impress. Because they're trying to get on their hook. The top bait. I'm sorry, they're trying to get on the hook, the top fish.
Yep.
The one that can provide the most money for them. So they're gonna wear the most expensive perfumes. The most expensive high heels. Dresses or whatever they put on. Bras, drawers, fucking lingerie, all of that. They're gonna get everything, name brand, everything. That's gonna accentuate their assets
and attract you, to bring that attraction even more. Because women, they do that, the most expensive makeup and the hair thing, all the stuff to accentuate their curves. You know what I mean? And you got to have a lot of money to to be able to do that.
afford that.
To afford that.
Yeah. And then that's the only way they got to seduce men that way so they can make more money. Because they got a reputation to keep. They got a lifestyle to keep. And that's America. America is no matter, you could be broke as hell, but just as long as you look good. You got to keep that appearance. You got to, keep up, like they say, keep up with the Joneses back in the day.
That's it. Yeah, because now what's happening is these people are coming to America and they're seeing the nakedness of America. They're coming up close and seeing, as she pulls off her clothes, they're seeing all the sores and the fucking herpes, and the cottage cheese on the thighs. The makeup is coming off. You're like, oh, this bitch is ugly.
Yeah.
She's getting old. She got wrinkles.
Yep.
And you can come up close. She got all that perfume, but you can still smell the stench.
Yep.
Of all the men she's been laying down with. Okay, so this is Revelation 17.
Yeah, and that's how how they show like these celebrities. They be looking good as hell. I believe they call that catfishing. Not just the celebrities. I'm just saying in general. Have a woman that she look good as hell, but then she take that makeup off. She's a cockeyed, bugged out looking bitch.
Well, who was you? Did you show me Rakim the other day? Or who was it when you showed me that it was like that rapper and he looked like hell? I forget. He was all skinny.
Oh no, you're talking about Jaheim.
Jaheim, there we go.
Yeah, he was a R&B singer. Yeah, Jaheim back in the 90s. He was bad back then, but he looked like a straight up crackhead or He got some kind of disease. He's all shriveled up. And then somebody put a title on it. Jake is cruel. They said, this is what happens when you put a woman first. Or something like that.
Yep. This is Revelation 17 and 4.
But that's what America does to you, you know, when you get involved with it.
You catch a disease.
Yeah.
And she's not there to you know, help you recover. She's on to the next sucker.
That's it.
You know?
That's it.
Revelation 17 and 4. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
Right, because that's how she keeps the people coming. Because like the elder was saying earlier, you know, in the morning, the bitch, you know, you start seeing the makeup coming off, the wrinkles, the cottage cheese, the bumps, the bruises and all that. You know, but when she keep giving you that cup, you keep drinking it.
Yeah.
When you're inebriated, what they call it, a beer goggles.
Yeah.
You know, you had those beer goggles on. You know, the bitch is looking good. You know what? I want to say something to you, girl. You look like Paul Abdul, you know, inside joke. You know, you looking good. But then when the liquor wears off, you're like, oh shit, what the fuck? You know, what the hell did I do?
Yeah, you've already been caught. You already been infected.
Yep.
And she just keeps giving you that drink.
Yep.
Until you're destroyed.
Yeah.
And then she's on to the next John.
You're already on the hook, my man. She already got you hooked and on the ship, you know, and you know how they put the fish, when they catch the fish, they put them in that little barrel. You're already in that, you another victim.
It says, and the nations have done it. Now the nations are mad. They're angry. Now they want to burn this bitch. You know, and fuck it, she burned us. Like she burned us, we gonna burn her. And they've all been burned, so they have something in common.
Yep.
The hatred for Babylon the Great. Okay.
That's it.
Revelation 17:5, and upon her head was a name written, Mystery Babylon, the Great, mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. You want me to continue?
That's pretty much it right there.
Jeremiah 51.
Yeah, let's go back there. Jeremiah 51 and 41. You know, so this place is out of here. We'll just read a few verses there. See how far we go down, because I don't remember how far down, because that whole chapter
You wanted to get the word astonishment.
Yes.
In Jeremiah
Yep.
51.
The same one, verse 41.
Yeah, Jeremiah 51 and 41. How is Shishak taken?
Right, Shishak, you know, those that are dressed in fine linen. Go ahead.
It says, and how is the praise of the whole earth surprised?
How is the praise of the whole earth surprised? Go ahead.
How has Babylon become an astonishment among the nations?
Because this lifestyle that she has and she's pushing on people is what's going to bring her demise. So that astonishment means she's going to be a wasteland. You can look up that word, you know, in the Hebrew. It's going to be a wasteland.
You can look it up?
Yes, sir. Okay. It's going to be a wasteland. So that's showing you that this Babylon is not talking about the Neo-Babylonian Empire. It's talking about America, the new Babylon the Great, you know, which took on a lot of the traits of ancient Babylon, ancient Egypt, ancient Assyria, so on and so forth.
Shema. In the Hebrew, it says waste.
No. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Shema. It says waste.
Yep.
Horror. Appallment.
Horror? Damn,
like horror, like a horror story.
Damn. Oh, horror.
Yeah, horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say, damn.
It says a waste of land, city, etc. Appallment.
Yeah.
And the Strong's translation count, astonishment, desolation, desolate, waste.
Right, it's going to be a desolate waste. This place is going to be finished, going to be out of here. You know, all for that extravagant living. You know, that golden city status, you know, that they push on the world. They cause the world, you know, to drink of that cup in order for them to participate in the goodies that they can get. And guess what? That's going to turn back around and bite you in the ass. Mm-hmm. It's going to destroy you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it on that.
Right. So yeah, so pretty much, you know, we're going to leave it there. I know there's a few other verses in there. I don't remember the exact one, you know, but, you know, when you get a chance, you could read up on it. So with that, you know, we pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. The next time we say,
Shalom.
54, 40 something.